we've seen largely reasonable containment in North Asia. A number of those countries, in particular Taiwan and Korea, are relative beneficiaries of the whole reshoring of the supply chain out of China. We're seeing a domestic boom in some ways, both in terms of real estate, the consumer, from Taiwanese companies moving back to Taiwan. So all of those economies in the north, together with their relative advantages in technology, will be well positioned for a while. I don't think the story is over for ASEAN. As you pointed out, as Michael pointed out, a lot of these economies do not have an alternative. People need to get from the rural areas to the big city. They need to find a job, which means manufacturing, and they need to find a way of improving their livelihoods. That has been the case for the last 30 years. That's still going to be the case. So I think we're going to have to wait a while, but I think the long-term story in those countries is still very much intact, but for the time being, it's tough. And lastly, on India, I think India's been a disappointment, certainly in terms of economic and market performance for a lot of people. But if you look at India now, from a risk-reward point of view, real rates are negative for the first time in a long time. A lot of the bad news in terms of what's happening in the financial sector, the moratorium on loans, is reflected in the price. The long-term drivers of growth in India are still intact. I think India will continue to go through a tough period, but I think from a risk-reward point of view, I would say India is a relative standout, not in the short term, but on a medium-term view.